Hello, my name is Mamon Wilson, and I'm a medical missionary. I want to start off first by saying I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical person. I'm a gospel medical missionary. And as many of you know, we've been plagued with the whole concept of the coronavirus. It is everything that we talk about, it's everything that we do, and it's encompassing our whole lifestyle. This is something that we should have anticipated. We have read it throughout the spirit of prophecy in the Bible that a time would come when it's going to be difficult for us as a people to function. I believe that time has arrived. And I think God's people are not prepared for the crisis. I believe it will pass. I do believe that. I believe this is really the first or the second woe that will come. And I believe God will give us a warning to make speedy preparation for the next crisis. And I pray that as we listen and as we make speedy preparation, that when this crisis do pass, we will not become lax and go back to our same old lifestyle. But keep in mind, as time goes, the crisis will intensify. Also, I want to encourage all to remember that we have nothing to fear except we remember how God has led us in the past. This coronavirus is something to contend with. It really is. It's a foe that cannot be seen and many times cannot be felt until it has devastated the human body. What is it? It's a viral component that has disguised itself in such a way that it's difficult for us to figure it out. And it's even beginning to change this whole concept by mutating, taking on other characteristics. It is airborne and it is quite deadly. It pretends to be a flu, a cold, or just a common fever. Today, many people are afraid because they get a cold, they get the sniffles, they cough, they automatically think, I must have a coronavirus. There are different types of coronavirus too. Some we are quite familiar with. This name corona is new to us, but not to the medical community. But this new one here is one that we must learn to deal with. And so I want to spend this time to go over some different things we can do to be proactive enough to protect ourselves during this time of crisis. There's no way we can cover this full subject in this particular presentation. The whole world has been affected, not just North America. The world in general been inundated by this virus. So we're going to take our time and do other sessions where we will cover by regions. We will cover the Caribbean region. We would also cover the Pacific region. We will cover North America, Canada, Europe, and Asia, and throughout the world, South America. And we will pick the different herbs and the different things you can use in that area to protect yourself. I'm well aware that some of the things that I'll be talking about in this session may not be available to many of the people in other parts of the world. But God has placed in your area the things you need to meet the crisis. We plan to talk about those things in the coming sessions we'll be going over. So I wish you to stay tuned and we will let you know when each session will be coming up. Today, we're going to be pretty much dealing with the coronavirus as it pertains to the North America area and see what we can do as a people to deal with this problem. First of all, this coronavirus, it is very similar. There's a lot of similarity to the common cold and the flu. But there are also differences. And those are the differences we must be able to distinguish. We don't want to run from fear because we sneeze. We don't want to run from fear because of a fever. But if these things persistent and our body began to be weakened by this, I think we need to be evaluated. I also want you to understand that I am not against the medical system. I believe the medical system has a very important role to play. And I think that there are times when we need to get examinations by a competent medical physician. And I think we need to take the proper steps to protect ourselves and our family. I don't want no one to take what I'm saying here to say that I am against any type of medical treatments. No, I'm not. And I don't want you to think that I'm saying that this particular protocol or anything that I'm going to talk about will cure you of corona, or arthritis, of diabetes, or cancer. I truly don't believe that there's a man in this world that can cure one disease, let alone AIDS and cancer and the coronavirus. I don't think no one can cure that disease. I don't think the medical system will ever find it out because they can't even cure a common cold. But I do believe it's the Lord thou God that healeth thee. And I believe that healing would be in him and him only. But I believe God used simple means to be a helping hand, to help us and instill faith in us. And I think by using those simple means, it increased our faith and our dependence on God because we know those things could not heal us. There's nothing in them that can do that. So please do not tell everybody Mamon Wilson can cure the corona disease. Mamon Wilson can do it. Mamon Wilson can't even do anything. He's as helpless as the most helpless baby. But I am ambitious enough, I have enough faith to believe that God can do it. And that's what I want to present to you, the helping hands of that. So keep in mind that as we go through this, there'll be elements of it where we're going to look at what we can do and how we can prevent from catching it. We're going to look at how we can sanitize our home, our office environment, our work area, to help fortify us against this virus. And also consider the fact that dealing with a common flu, there are vaccines and there are medicine that seem to suppress the symptoms of this condition. There's no specific vaccine that can stop the coronavirus. Basically what doctors would do is to try to keep you breathing, to try to keep you strong enough to let your natural defense system recover your health, and to keep you from spreading it, and to monitor your vital signs to try to keep you strong enough until your body can figure out how to eliminate this menace. So keep in mind, there's no particular treatment that's going to cure you. That's either the natural or allopathic viewpoint. It's going to be your natural defense system in your body that will do this. So what is the virus? And what is the virus made of? The virus is made up of a core of genetic materials, either from the DNA or the RNA, surrounded by a protected coat, which is made up of protein. Now that is important to understand, that this virus is a genetic material. That means it's already programmed to replicate. And it has a protein covering around it that shield the virus from being exposed to the immune system. In order to deal with this virus, you must break down that protein covering. It's like what the Bible said. It's like sheep with, wolf with lamb skin, lamb covering. It pretends to be something that's not. And this virus is pretending to be a healthy cell for the human system. But once it finds entrance into the body, it explodes and attack the system and try to destroy it. So be very careful with that. And so this protein covering must be broken down and must be removed. Now, when you're approaching the flu or the cold, some of the natural remedies, some of the drug medication can find entrance, and it can help in those cases. But what we customarily use for flu or cold is ineffective with dealing with the coronavirus. It may help you breathe better, it may help with a fever, but it will not eradicate the coronavirus. That virus must be killed, it must be stopped. And that's why the medical system is scrambling now to try to find a way how to stop it, how to kill it. And I don't think they're going to find it. I really don't. I think they will find a way to suppress some of the symptoms. But there are natural things that can do it, and we will talk about that as we continue this program. The virus have on the body of the virus like spikes. And as it rotates through this human circulatory system, these spikes come in close contact with other cells and other organs. And if it attaches itself and the key or the spike can lock in, then it's a match. In other words, the body said that like kind accept like kind. But remember now, those spikes is nothing but a deception. It is an outer covering that pretends to be a friendly foe to the body, but in actuality it's an enemy. Once the body accepts it in, then the true nature is exposed. That virus then will latch on to the host cell, find interest into the body, and through that, through the nose, through the eye, through the respiratory system, through the mouth, any way it can enter into the system. And when that happened, it began to go through mitosis and began to develop other cells that follow the same genetic profile. The disease seemed to be most contagious when people are the most symptomatic. So that means when you're showing symptoms of coughing, sneezing, fever, that's when it seems to be most contagious. Well, that's similar to a common cold or the flu. I mean, if you got a fever, that's the time you catch it. Because your body is now trying to figure out how to get rid of it. And there may be some spread before people even show any viral signs or symptoms. So that means that a person could actually have this condition and show no symptoms at all. This is probably the most deadliest part of this virus. That makes it totally different from the Ebola, because with the Ebola, you saw the symptoms and you knew how to protect yourself. In this instance, you could be talking with someone, you could be conversing with someone, you could be laughing and talking and not knowing that you are actually exposing yourself to a very deadly foe. So we must be aware that this virus can also lay dormant from 2 to 14 days without the exposure. And so it has plenty of time to expose people. Can you imagine how many people can be exposed within 14 days? On your work site, in your home, in the classroom, many can be exposed. And when they get exposed, then they can expose others. Doctors said that the most important route of transmission is likely close contact. In other words, we're talking about between 6 or less feet from a particular infected person. And through that, it can be spreaded through the respiratory droplets when a person coughs and when a person sneezes, any type of contaminants that could enter into the body. It also can be spread when we touch the surface of an infected object that is contaminated with the virus. That virus can live on a doorknob, on a pillowcase, on different materials for a period of time before it dissipates and dies. If a person comes in contact with that, they also can be infected. So there are things you can do to protect yourself from this. As with the cold, there is no vaccine for the coronavirus, and there's no vaccine at all that's going to protect you. Our researchers are working on a vaccine for the new virus. It could take as long as 12 to 18 months before they have some type of solution that could possibly suppress the symptoms. Now, I'm not saying that in 12 to 18 months they're going to find a cure. Please don't read me wrong. They will never find a cure. Now, you tell me, what disease have they found a cure for? They can find a way to help us, suppress the symptoms, extend our life. But it's the Lord our God. It's the Lord our God that heals thee. God is the only person can heal. No man can do that. Don't ever forget that. So according to the medical institution, the disease can be spreaded by close contact. So if that's the case, then we all had to live by ourselves and we couldn't have contact with our family members, our husband, our wives. That's no way to live. I mean, you know, at some points, you've got to trust God's ability to shield us. So how does your body fight the virus? Well, God has given us a beautiful defense mechanism, and the most sophisticated army in the world will never compete against this beautiful army God has put in the body. There are natural antibodies that fight disease continuously in the body, fighting to remove virus and infections and bacteria from the system. When a virus invades the body, the white blood cells will recognize it and it will attack it and destroy it. But keep in mind, this virus pretends to be a part of self. So it makes it hard for the body to find it. It's similar to the AIDS virus. The AIDS virus also used this same mechanism of deception. It really pretended to be a healthy T cell. But this healthy T cell had already been amalgamated with the HIV virus. And at some point, it will explode and make copies of itself that will infect other cells. Every time it do that, it will lower your T count until finally you end up with full-blown AIDS. This is similar to what is taking place. If this coronavirus can go through mitosis and continue to do it, it will lower our body immunity and it will compromise our health. So let's talk now of some of the things we can do. One is the corona long-tonic. Now, once again, I don't have a cure for none of this. These are just helping hands. In the long-tonic, we use licorice root. I'm going to explain why we use some of these things. Licorice root is really important. Even the medical system have just figured it out that there are components in the licorice root that can remove that protein covering around that coronavirus. This will help because it will allow now for the antibodies, our natural immune system, to do its work. But our immune system cannot work unless it has the right nutrients and vitamins and substance to be able to function. And so that licorice root need a helping hand. It need DMSO. Now, what is DMSO? Well, that protein covering is almost impossible for that licorice to penetrate without a solvent that will actually cause it to absorb into the protein fiber and allow the licorice root to enter in and remove that protein shield. Also, there's an herb called caron seeds. It's an Indian herb that Indian people use on a daily basis, and they know the value of this herb in their food and their seasoning. It is really good for the immune system. It's used for many things, for a system that is weak. And one herb that you may not be familiar with is called pokeweed. Pokeweed is a very powerful immune boosting herb. And it stimulates the immune system, and we really use that to boost the immune system. Iodine is another very powerful one that helps your metabolism. And you need that because many times your foods in your body's not broken down properly and they become free radicals. But it's the body's, if your thyroid gland is getting the proper amount of iodine, that can help your metabolism, and then you can get the full spectrum of the nutrients you're consuming. Eucalyptus will definitely fight against microbes and bacteria, fungal infections, and so on. It also helps the respiratory tract. Ellen White talks about the eucalyptus, how that a little eucalyptus with a little honey is a wonderful thing to expel mucus out the system to help in a cough. So these things have been proven. Now, I know you question about the scientific validation. If you believe in the Bible and spirit of prophecy, that's all the validation you need. Garlic, the world knows that garlic is probably one of the most powerful natural immune boosting substances we have. Onion have nearly the same properties that garlic have. It is also in this formula. Oregano, you know how powerful that is. You can only take a small amount of oregano. And menthol crystals. It's nothing but a product that is made from different mint leaves in a very concentrated level. And it helps in the respiratory tract. It also helps oxygen get to the cells, which also boosts your immune system. Turmeric is one of the best anti-inflammatory herbs you have, and so it's a part of it. Pine tree, the needles from the pine tree, and this is the needle from the pine tree. And I wanted to bring this because a lot of people are asking about the pine, and they don't really know what it is. They think it's what the Christmas tree the cedar tree. That's not what it is. This is the pine. The pine is going to produce pine cones. It is totally different. It's a part of the evergreen family, and it produces two major components. Pycnogenol, you know what Ellen White said about the pine, and you can smell the aroma of the pine, and it's fantastic, but she said there are healing properties in the pine and the fir tree and many like trees. Well, to me, the pine tree reminds me of the manna which God gave Israel. God told them to go and pick the manna, but they had to do more than that. They had to prepare it. God told us that there's healing properties in the pine tree and other like pine trees, but we have to go and do something with it. And so I'm going to show a little later what you do to this pine tree that can extract the essential elements out of it. There is a fat soluble here. There's a pine tar. And the main thing you want to do with this pine, you can touch these leaves and it's real sticky, like chewing gum. And that's what you want to extract out of this pine. If you distill this and make pine tinctures or extract, taking in large amounts could be toxic. So we're not recommending that. But if you boil it, don't extract it through making tinctures, essential oils. I'm not saying that. Boil it. You extract the water solubles. And that is not toxic at all. Even for a child, it's not toxic. So when you read that the pine and the peppermint and the eucalyptus and menthol crystals are toxic, that's because it's been processed. That means that it has went through some type of system that have extracted the nutrients from it. And yes, at large amounts, it could be a problem. So I'm not recommending that at all. And we'll talk about that pine in just a little bit as we go through the PowerPoint presentation. Also, lemon juice. Nearly every cleaning agent have lemon juice in it because the citric acid also repel bacteria, fungus, and microbes, and you name it. And they just not put it in there for the lemon smell. They put it there because it will repel bacteria, microbes, fungus, and so on. Cayenne pepper is for circulation. Vitamin C is an antioxidant that helps increase oxygen to the cells, and golden seal also is important. Now, that's the principal formula for the long-tonic. Now what I want to do is explain to you the proportions you use. With the licorice root, you need to take 1/3 pound of licorice root. You need to take 1/3 pound of the caron seeds. You need to take 1/4 pound of poke root. I'm going to slow it down. 1/4 pound of poke root juice. The iodine, you're going to take 1 ounce of the iodine tincture. This iodine tincture can be from any vegetable, kelp, dose, or seaweed source. Eucalyptus, you're going to take 1/2 ounce of eucalyptus oil. You're going to take from 3 to 5 medium-sized onion bulbs. Now I said medium-sized because onions come in all different sizes, from 3 to 5. Garlic, you're going to take anywhere from 10 to 20 bulbs of garlic. I said that because they come in different sizes. Now, when you take that garlic and the onions, you're going to have to chop them up and blend them up. Take oregano. Oregano is very strong, so you're going to use 1/3 ounce of oregano. The menthol crystals. Menthol crystals is very powerful also. You're going to use 3 tablespoons of menthol crystals. 3 tablespoons. The turmeric is the anti-inflammatory herb, and that is so important when you're dealing with this condition. The turmeric, you're going to use 1/3 pound of turmeric. You're going to need about 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. With the cayenne pepper, make sure you use at least a 90,000 heat unit. The vitamin C, you're going to use 20,000 milligrams of vitamin C. And the golden seal, you're going to use at least 3 tablespoons of golden seal. The pine needles, this is the major one right here. This is it. If you don't have nothing else, you have this. With the pine needle, you're going to take anywhere from close to 1 pound of pine needles, and you're going to boil those pine needles in about 3 liters of water. Boil them from 8 to 10 minutes, slow boil. Now, one thing I forgot, you're going to have to bruise these leaves, pound them. Pound these leaves to help release the antioxidants out of it. Bruise them and boil it in 3 liters of water. And you'll smell the aroma coming from it. And then let it steep and cool down and just set that aside. The lemon juice, you're going to need about 8 to 10 ounces of lemon juice. Mix that also. Now, what you want to do, you want to mix all of that together. Mix it all together. And let it set. Let it cool all the way down. Then you want to mix your DMSO in that. With the DMSO, you're going to take at least 12 ounces of DMSO. Mix it in that solution and let it set. Another thing I encourage you to use is alcohol. I'm not a fan of alcohol, but in this case, it would help preserve it and keep it. You don't have to use alcohol. You can use vinegar if you want to. You can use alcohol. I prefer to use alcohol because I'm dealing with such a serious situation. I recommend that you use at least 12 ounces of alcohol. That's rum or vodka or something in that nature, so that it keeps it and preserve it. Now let's talk about some other things we can do to help fortify ourselves and protect our home and our family members. One thing we need to do is practice good hygiene. We know from the Word of God that God instructed Moses to teach the children of Israel good hygiene, because he knew that when they had poor hygiene, that plagues would come. And so this is so important, to learn to wash our hands, teach our children to wash our hands, and to scrub them real well. Use some type of hand sanitizer. At least it should have at least 60% alcohol in it. Now, I know how difficult it is to get sanitizers, because out of the fear, people that went in and bought all the stores up. But I have a simple one here that works really, really good. And I don't need any cloth on it and anything like that. This is a liquid sanitizer. And I simply just rub that, and in a few minutes or seconds, it's dry. And it kills any bacteria on my hand. I'm going to talk about that a little later, how you can make your own spray sanitizers. But right now, let's talk about some other things as we deal with touching. Because a lot of times when we touch something and we're going to go to our face, we're going to rub our eyes, we're going to touch. And if you touch something previous that has the bacteria and you go to your face, you could transmit it to your eyes, to your face. And so be aware of that. So a product that I have nothing to do with, and there are many different types. There's one called liquid gloves, hand shield. These are really good products that can help protect your hands from the penetration of a virus. Now, it's not advertised as of that. I've studied it, and I feel pretty good about these hand shield, liquid gloves, and so on. Most of them are made out of natural substance that will not allow a bacteria to penetrate. So I think it's a good product. But there's one thing you need to be aware of, even with this, and I definitely recommend this. If you touch an object that has bacteria on it, and you have the hand shield or liquid glove, it will not penetrate, but it still may lay on the surface of your hand. This is why, even if you have the hand shield on or the liquid glove, you come back and you spray. You come back and spray. That way, it will kill the bacteria on your hand. So if you happen to go to your face, you don't transmit it. So I hope you understood that. What I'm simply saying is, I highly recommend the hand shield, the liquid gloves, as a barrier that prevent any penetration. But as it will prevent any penetration, it still may be on your hand. To eliminate that, come and spray your hand, and that will kill it from the surface of your hand. So that's the hand shield, liquid gloves, and like I said, there are many different types. Another thing I like to show you is the nose filters. And I have some nose filters here, and I'm going to demonstrate. And I really like these nose filters. I really don't care much for the mask. I guess it's all right. But this is the nose filter right here. This is a charcoal nose filter. And I'm going to demonstrate how easy it is to put them on. These nose filters will serve as a mask so that no bacteria or microbe or allergen will get up in your sinus cavity. Your sinus through your nose is the most favorable place for the penetration. So you simply just take these, and it's right in here. It has some charcoal filters in it, and you can breathe easy. And you put these on. Now you see how easy that is. And I'm breathing real easy. I have no problem at all. I can close my mouth, and I'm going to close my mouth, and I can breathe easy by simply having those nose filters on. And it blocks my nose from any intrusion of a bacteria virus. And I really like them because, to me, they serve a better purpose than the mask. Many times the mask is not customized to your face. The bacteria can come through up under the mask. Some of the masks are not made very well, and there can still be penetration. This will catch any allergen virus that is getting through. What you want to do is to take the nose filter out about 3 times a day, and you want to dip this in a solution, or you can spray it. Once again, with your sanitizers, you spray it like such. That would kill any bacteria that have clinged to the nose filters, and then you can turn around after let it dry a little bit, and you can place it back in your nose. And it works perfect. Okay? So that's the nose filters. And this one product that I'm really excited about, I recognize not everyone will be able to get these nose filters. In countries, third world countries where they cannot get the nose filters, you can make your own nose filters. All you need to do is to get some thread and roll the thread up in a tight ball. Just keep rolling it in a tight ball and tying it up until it's about the size of these little ends of these nose filters here, in a round ball. Now, these nose filters come in different sizes, medium, small, and large. So it's important to get the right fit for your nose. The same thing is with the thread. If you're going to make it, if you're making it for a child, make sure you make it to fit his nose. You're getting it for a person with a large nose, make it that it fits secure to his nose. And when you make it, keep a string hanging outside of the nose so that you can pull it out if it happens to go too far. It won't do it, but just if it goes too far, that means you didn't make it right. But keep a string hanging out of the thread. Pull it out, and we have a solution that you can dip it in. Once again, you can spray it, and that will kill it. Any bacteria that may have clinged onto it, put it back in the nose. Another important thing, if you're going to make the nose filters out of thread, you need to dip it in a little olive oil with a little disinfectant in it, such as a very weak form of peppermint, a weak form of eucalyptus, or something like that, or vinegar. Dip it in vinegar, dilute it with some water, clean it out real good, and put it back in the nose. But you do need oil on it, because the oil will actually grab whatever's trying to go through the thread and hold on to it until you clean it out. So that's a very crude way of making nose filters if you do not, cannot secure some professional nose filters. The nose filters provide a tight seal when wearing them properly, and they can give you a good measure of protection. Also, we make a hand cream, and this hand cream is, you simply make it, and you can, especially working on your computer, you're touching things, you can rub this over your hand, and touching an infected doorknob, you can rub it over your hand, or you can use the room sanitizer to serve that same purpose. Another good thing I like is, if you touch something, for instance, and you go to your eyes, you could transmit it. I really like wearing some safety glasses when you're in a crowd. So you put on a good pair of clear safety glasses, and you put them on. Now the purpose of that, the glasses will not do anything but keep you from touching your eyes, to remind you not to do it. You have them on, and if your eyes start itching, you got to remove the glasses to do it. It's just common sense practice. So you put it on, and then before you know, you're going to mess around with your eye, you come back, and you sanitize your hands. And now you take your glasses off, and if you need to mess with your eyes, you can do it because it will kill the bacteria. These are just common sense things that we take for granted, but they are things that can really help us and help prevent any additional infection. There are travel restrictions, there are schools has been closed, churches has been closed, business and so on has been closed because of the fear of transmitting it. There are ways that you can protect your church, your business, and that is you can fumigate your church and your business. This weekend I plan to be in Memphis at a church, and we're going to demonstrate how we can fumigate the church with a disinfectant before people come. And while the people's in the church, then a mist will be released in the church that will kill any airborne bacteria, virus that's in the air. So that will lessen the chance that a person would get infected. Another good thing too is Lysol. Now, be with me here a little bit. Some of the things I'm going to talk about are not the best in the world, but under this most crucial circumstance, it may be the most feasible. Lysol is an antiseptic that was used back in the 1800s. And it was used to fight infection during the Spanish flu and many other pandemics. And it was quite successful during that time. It was developed in Germany and was able to stop this pandemic. So Lysol is really good. Now, a good, beautiful thing about Lysol is it's so concentrated that you can take 1 ounce and make a gallon out of it. I take 8 ounces of Lysol, and I put that in over 5 gallons of water, and I can make a very potent disinfectant. Then you can put that in an aerosol can, and you can spray your room, you can spray your office, you can spray any area, your car when you leave work, the sick room, you can spray that. Now, I did one thing better than just depending on Lysol. What I did, I took the Lysol and I added DMSO and lysine to that. That was two natural substances I added to that solution. And with the 1 ounce of Lysol to a gallon of water, I put 8 ounces of DMSO and I put 8 ounces of lysine. And I mixed that together, and that really boosted up the ability for it to fight infections and bacteria and microbes and so on. So that's what I did. I just want to make it a little more potent. Now let's look at the room disinfectant spray. And this is the spray we're talking about right here. That's the room disinfectant spray. And what it is, we took Lysol, lysine, colloidal silver, iodine, rosemary, and ginger. So we took 1 ounce of Lysol. We took 4 ounces of lysine. We took 4 ounces of colloidal silver. We took 1 ounce of iodine. We took 1 ounce of the tincture of rosemary. And we took 1 ounce of the tincture of ginger. We mixed all those together. And we put that in some water. We actually, with that mixture there, we put that in 1 quart of water. And then we could spray the room with that. And it was quite effective in killing about 90%, 99% of airborne virus and bacteria. We talked about the charcoal nose filters and how they can protect you, especially if you're being exposed to the virus. So let's go on to another thing we can do to fight this virus. One of the things you want to do is, like I said, you're going to need the nose filter cleaner. And I make the nose filter cleaner. So when you use this nose filter, you're going to need to clean it. Now I can use this aerosol disinfectant I use. Also, I make a solution that I keep in a little container, and I dip it in there. I'm going to show you what I make. I take 1% lysine, 2% peppermint, 2% L-lysine, well, I realize it's 1% Lysol, 2% peppermint, 2% lysine, and 5% olive oil. And I mix all that together, and I can dip that into the solution, and that will help cleanse the filters that you put in your nose. Another important component of the program is making some cough drops or cough syrup. This is really important, especially for children. Anytime you're in a crowded environment where people may have the virus, and we make this up so you suck on this, and it can actually protect you 2 to 3 hours. If you're around an area where you can be exposed. Now, how we make that cough syrup and also the cough drops. Let's go to the cough syrup first, and then we'll talk about how to make the cough drops. We use 8 ounces of honey. We also use 4 ounces of any type of, I don't use white sugar, you can use fructose, you can use date sugar, coconut sugar, or something like that. And so 4 ounces of that. You're also going to use 3 ounces of the long-tonic. That's the same long-tonic that we talked about at first, 3 ounces of that. The menthol crystals, you're going to use 3 tablespoons. The colloidal silver, we're going to use 1 ounce. The peppermint oil, 1/2 ounce. Lysine, 2 ounces, and the licorice root 3 ounces. All the licorice is in powder form. So you mix all of that up together, and you let a person take that, half a teaspoon of that 3 times or whenever they want to throughout the day. And that's a very potent cough tonic, cough syrup. Now, to make cough drops out of that, you simply take and mix all this together, and you put it in a really hot skillet, and you heat it up like you're burning it, and it will turn almost brown. When it looks like you're burning it, then the honey and it will crystallize, and then you have to pour that in a mold. You can drop that on some type of wax paper and let it cool, and it'll make droplets that can be sucked as cough drops. If you don't want to go through that trouble, just make the cough syrup. We do make the cough drops for people that it's convenient for children. They think it's a piece of candy, and they will suck on it, and it's quite useful for them. Once again, we use licorice root, and I like licorice root because of the properties of it. We use pine needle tea, and pine needle tea is really good. I mean, if you don't do anything else, and I'm going to talk more about this when we start talking about other regions, if you just drink pine needle tea, you're going to help your condition. For a child to drink it, you might need to put a little ginger in it. You might need to put a little lemon juice in it, a little honey in it, and the child will drink it, and it would be very good for his system and his whole respiratory system. So pine needle tea is very good for the immune system because it's very high in vitamin C. It's 4 or 5 times more vitamin C in pine needles than in orange juice. So you can see you need that vitamin C. It's so important when you're dealing with disease. Vitamin C is also very high in vitamin A, which means it's a powerful antioxidant, and it will help your eyesight, strengthen your eyes. Another good thing about it, if you think that you have infected your eyes by touching something, you can also make a pine needle tea and rinse your eyes out with that. It strengthen your eyes, and it will disinfect and clean your eyes. Pine needle tea is very good for your respiratory tract. It helps remove phlegm and mucus out the system. I really recommend that you drink plenty of pine needle tea. Put a little ginger, a little cayenne pepper, a little honey, and a little piece of cayenne pepper in it, and just drink that on a regular basis. If you cannot do this whole program, do that, and you could do yourself a wonderful good. Pine needle tea can help prevent certain chronic diseases. It can actually help people to have cancer and heart disease and autoimmune diseases. So it's really very powerful. Another one is papaya, the papaya leaves. We work a lot with dengue fever, and we know that this is a proven remedy for people that have malaria, dengue fever. And overnight, I mean, within 24 hours, the fever would break. And so I decided I would incorporate this into the program. So especially for the people in the tropical areas that have plenty of papaya, juice those leaves, drink a little papaya leaf juice. And especially if you see a fever coming on, and that will definitely stop the fever. For people that do not live in a tropical area, you can buy dehydrated papaya leaf juice from Amazon or eBay. And it too, when put into water form, can reconstitute it, and it works just as well. So those are some of the things that I want to share with you on this program. And like I said, there'll be other coming programs where we will use other areas that may not have the advantage of having some of the things we have here. Before I close, remember, take hot baths, steam baths, get exposed to a lot of sun. That will help. And the church must get involved. They must educate the people. Instead of having the people to run for fear, educate the people that God has a program. Call on your medical missionaries to come in to teach good hygiene, how to boost up the immune system, take more vitamin C, stop eating animal flesh, because animal flesh is probably the main reason this disease has been transmitted. Put the people on a plant-based diet and let them maintain good health principles. And remember, God promised that these diseases will not come nigh his people. I hope this presentation has been a help. I rushed to get it off. There's some things I wanted to do. I want to show a video presentation of actually making some of these things. We will do that when I have a little more time to put it all together. But I at least want to give you some things to work with. So we will notify you when the next program will be available. Thank you so much. And if we can be of any help, you can contact us. And we'll put our contact information up so that you can contact us if you need any help. Thank you so much. God bless.
We apologize for the delay in getting this information to you. We know that everyone is very anxious to receive this information. So now we are thrilled to be able to make it available to you. If you would like to donate to this worthy cause, there are several ways that you can do it. One way is via a PayPal account. If you have a PayPal account, just use our email address, which is centurionbibleschoolofhealth@gmail.com. Again, that's centurionbibleschoolofhealth@gmail.com. Another way that you can make a donation is via our GoFundMe page. The GoFundMe page is the Good Samaritan Fund, and the link is in the description box below. And finally, the last way that you can make a donation is via regular mail. You would just make your donation payable to Centurion Ministry. Our mailing address is 4070 Hayes Branch Road, Cypress Inn, Tennessee, 38452. Again, that's 4070 Hayes Branch Road, Cypress Inn, Tennessee, 38452. Thank you, and God bless.
Very good.